Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the summer doldrums. Kind of blah market right now. Anyway, what is this? This is our daily brief recap. Middle of the summer. In fact, actually, I'm heading off to pay off my car lease here today, so I'm probably not even going to be doing too much past this video here market wise, but options expiry day. So we often say that on the actual day of it, options expiry, volatility is usually fairly low. Not much moving sort of news wise. Of course, Mr. Powell did his wonderfulness there in front of the U.S. Congress yesterday. And what I heard out of him was banksters got away with the inflating the economy. It's already been done. Banksters got economic forecasts and forecasts of inflation totally and completely wrong. Business as usual. Exactly what they're supposed to do. The only question here is, are they really this stupid? Or are they just playing the public? Sadly, I don't think that these people are actually stupid. I think they're incredibly intelligent. I don't know whether you call it Rothschilds or whatever name you want to use, Joey Diamonds. Basically, they're playing the public. They have a plan from day one. Literally the day Ben Bernanke opened his mouth in front of the Congress. But what's interesting is actually, I might actually make the argument that it started even before that, sort of through 9/11, and then through the absolute stupidity of the amount of money that was just. I mean, number one, the United States of America never had the money to begin with. It was all borrowed, and the insane spending, under Darth Cheney, like CIA branches that have no oversight whatsoever, got like $40 billion budgets that nobody can even ask where the hell the money is going or if it was even spent or not. So, what's the end game of all that kind of stupidity? Well, it's the world that we live in now. I might argue it's half the reason why something like a Bitcoin was built to begin with, is that the people that saw the Bitcoin or that built the Bitcoin story out, they saw what was going on. And, keep in mind, Mr. Bush Sr., he was a CIA man for a very, very long time. So is Bitcoin a CIA pet project? It wouldn't surprise me. Probably the building of Bitcoin was a result of those black projects that you'll never find out about. Anyway, that's kind of a funny rant to start your day. Point here is it's incredible to watch the dance that these politicians, who are kind of like all like dinosaurs now, it's quite remarkable. It's like literally the grandparents are still in charge of the U.S. government right now. They haven't even passed the baton off to the baby, the Gen Xers, let alone millennials. And heck, even a hell of a lot of the silent generation. Warren Buffett. I mean, isn't Warren Buffett supposed to be dead? I mean, how old are these people? So, it's a very odd existence, this beginning of the 21st century. I'll tell you that much by crackers. And I suppose you could argue, 6 different celestial events all happening all right around each other, and all the astrologers go, this is a once in a million year event. It's been a lot of fun commentating our way through all this. I'll tell you that much by crackers. And for whatever it's worth, I don't think, we're not even at the apex of this. I still think there's another year or so of this sort of chaos ahead of us before we actually even start to see sort of the light through the end of the tunnel. So, try to play from a position of strength. Make darn sure you're not in debt. Neither a borrower nor a lender be. I mean, you can play this leverage like housing game, whatever, but when the market breaks, oh boy. while the sickness is going on. And if anything, you want to keep playing that sort of, I'm not going to pay rent, I'm going to speculate in the market with borrowed money, all that kind of thing. I'm going to play the housing market, assuming that the bubble just keeps inflating. You will be, I think you want to root for more sickness, more sickness, more sickness. As soon as the sickness is sort of dealt with, then I think the adults will start saying, okay, well, we probably ought to start cleaning this mess up. But I don't think it's today. And I didn't hear from Mr. Powell yesterday that they are ready to start hitting the brakes. But I did hear from him, though, was, keep in mind, a year or two ago, they were adamant. No interest rate increases for the next 2 or 3 years. No inflationary pressures whatsoever. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Just wrong. And it was great. This one senator, he literally read back all of the horribly inaccurate U.S. Federal Reserve market commentaries over the past couple of years. Just stunningly wrong. And remember, people, like, you're listening to this to try and learn. The Fed always is behind the curve. Always, 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 always. Do not look at Jerome Powell and think he knows what's going to happen in the future. He is thinking backward, not forward. Anyway. So did hear an acknowledgement out of the Fed. Hey, we've got a problem with inflation. Which to me says that actually the problem of inflation's over. That was yesterday's story. Fed's always backwards. And ironically enough, I might argue that now is when we should probably not be looking for further massive price inflation. If anything, maybe we should be thinking about a bit of deflation. I'll tell you, if we get another wave of sickness here, and I'm hearing Europe's ramping up, Asia's ramping up. I'm hearing that, the sicknesses are all over the place. For some reason here in North America, we've kind of convinced ourselves that it's over, but I don't see where it's over. So I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe it's more part of the 1% that got to get everybody immunized. So let's let our guard down. Let's get a whole bunch more people sick. So then people go, oh my God, I better go get that fucking vaccine. Whatever. Anyway, fun times. And actually interesting. Supposed to be like summer doldrums, boring market. And for some reason, Brian can still find an hour to rant mindlessly. Sorry. But I did try and teach you something there. I sure hope you wrote that down. Don't ever listen to the Fed for like realistic forward guidance. That's stupidity. Listen to guys like Druckenmiller. He's the smart guy. All right. So as it speaks right now, we're in the middle of the summer. Sjord's actually taking the opportunity to do some more data management issues that this beast of a website and the amount of data that it's trying to process. So kind of mixed messages from the platform itself today. Still haven't got to the point where we're actually selling this to the public, so I'm not too concerned about the splotchiness. As you can see, it says beta here. So it's not like we're like selling this to anybody. We're still developing it, but as soon as Sjord gives me the green light, oh my goodness, I'm going to market the shit out of this because I love some of these signals that the system is producing. I've been waiting 20, 30 years for a platform like this. So it's finally been built. Thank you, Jojo. Appreciate it. Specifically with your guys, I often like to talk off of this sort of matrix. Just keep it as simple as possible. US dollar still working its way higher. Are we still in that crisis kind of scenario? I think so, and I think Europe actually is heading back into the shit. And if I understand correctly, Northern Europe is really experiencing some serious flooding. So on top of the fact that we've got coronavirus and all that kind of stuff to worry about, we might have some serious implications for crops and stuff like that if the flooding just gets out of control over there. Anyway, point of the matter here is U.S. dollar index still catching a bit of a bid. Probably if and when the legislation down in the States passes and the banksters get a whole bunch more free money, that's probably when this thing rolls over in earnest. It just hasn't happened yet. U.S. stock market kind of waffling up here. It is the options expiry day. Also, too, interesting to see that this oil market seems to be waffling up top here. We did actually get, pretty unequivocal Dow theory sell signals a little while ago. There is the industrials. Oh, wow. Look at that M in the industrials now. And here's the transports. Transports have just been blech. So this is actually a very, very bad sign right there. Not a bullish sign in the stock market right now. If oil does correct here in earnest, right, and the transports start getting a little happier, then that probably helps. But for now, it's interesting. You can see the bond market is trying to M, and the oil market is Ming as well. You don't see that every day. So one of these two is right. Who is it? I get the impression that oil here, if it breaks, that bond market's going to go up, and at least get back up into this trend line resistance up here. Theoretically, if the stock market is topping out, junior stocks don't look very happy. They did not find a floor here against those old lows, so that's still very suspect. Stock market itself, I was talking to the TRI audience today about the fact that, there's the 50% rule, folks. That's off the entire range. I think probably more realistic if we just look at it from a 52-week range. So there's last summer, right, middle of July. There's no reason why you can't see a stock market down here at 37. Right now we're at 43. So, like in Dow point terms, that's going to be like, what, 5,000-6,000 Dow points lower? So, you never know exactly when these dumpings come in. We probably were like, oh, okay, here comes the dump here. And then, nope, they didn't come in. But at some point, this damn thing will break. You see what they do here. It does correct. So it's not here yet, but I'm starting to see a lot of interesting anecdotal evidence looking for tops up here, including things like that Dow theory sell signal. That's pretty significant. So we'll see how it goes here with risk. But I'll tell you, risk is looking a little dicey here right now. And it's interesting because, especially with that testimony by the banksters yesterday in front of the congressmen and the senators, I heard a lot of people saying, this stock market's so strong. And you've completely gutted our system. Now we've got hyperinflation. Thank you very much, banksters, you assholes. Why do we need more stimulus? And as a result, I think the market's going, you know what? I don't think we're going to get that stimulus. We don't get that stimulus, stock prices will come off dramatically. That is exactly what the banksters want. The politicians are screwed either one way or the other. Banksters are going to get what they want. And if we start seeing the inertia, we don't need any more stimulus, everything's fine. We believe in the value of the US dollar. I got a funny feeling you're going to see risk market just get punched in the nose hard here. See how it goes. Only time will tell. If anything, it would be better that risk does get punched in the nose. Real drubbing, just an absolute wipeout. And then after that happens, we go, well, you know what? Let's let things settle down. I don't know. I doubt that can happen, but that's what I would want to see happen. Because this market is way too frothy as it is anyway. It needs to come down. It's just, this is stupidity. And thank you, banksters. This is all 100% derived by the banksters. Last year, they should have been saying, you inject a whole shitload of stimulus into the system, you are going to create inflationary pressures. That is just economics 101. Mr. Powell knew that. It's just, that's not their plan. The banksters want to reflate the economy, and he's already gotten what he wanted. I said like 5-10 years ago, I said to the audience today, the economy was like trillions of dollars. And it's like, wow, trillions of dollars. Then all of a sudden, mysteriously, after 2008 financial crisis, now the economy is $10 trillion. Well, where the fuck did that happen? Well, somebody obviously printed a bit of money, eh? Now, Mr. Powell yesterday, he actually openly came out and said, well, U.S. economy is $20 trillion. So that means that money's been spent. It's done. They got exactly what they wanted. He pulled it off. All his bankers' buddies, they are happier than pigs in shit right now. So they won. I find it ironic that now that they won, he said that he has inflated the economy to $20 trillion. Now he comes out and says, oh, you know what? Turns out we actually do have a problem with inflation. Inflation's getting pretty out of control. These jerks. It drives you nuts. So put it all together, it's not going to be the most uppy of risk markets until I think there's two big catalysts that have to happen. Number one, there's a debt ceiling debate that has to be had in the States, and there's a vote that debt ceiling has to be raised. And that's critical. If that vote fails, you might actually see the stock market collapse here, which would be great. That would be awesome. Let's get rid of all this nonsense fluff. And then on top of that, and this is really what needs to happen going forward, is does Mr. Biden get his massive stimulus program? And the scary part about that is it's like $3.5 trillion in U.S. debt over 10 years, blah, 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 blah. Of course, the Fed can take that debt and then reserve lend against it to the tune of like 20 or 30, 10 times, let's say. So 10 times 3.5 trillion, that's $35 trillion they can lend against. But they haven't even acknowledged the fact that the economy is so weak right now that they are planning to run $2 to $3 trillion deficits here. That's why you're seeing, of course, the hyperinflation, is the deficits are not even being addressed by all of this. And they're just assuming that, well, if we do this 3.5 trillion plan over 10 years, it will bring confidence back into the system and the economy will start growing again and the deficits will go away. Well, that's a dangerous assumption in this world. I personally think that there is another wave of this sickness ahead of us. We might find that this fall they have to go and shut everything down again, and we're literally right back at square one as if nothing had been done since Mr. Trump was in office. That wouldn't surprise me at all, folks. So be forewarned. It's kind of interesting. We talked about in the fall, I believe, that there's going to be a shock to crypto because actually the Fed yesterday, Mr. Powell yesterday, came out and publicly said that he's going to war with stable coins. So be damn careful if you own stable coins that are not endorsed by Goldman Sachs, because technically Goldman Sachs owns the U.S. government. So, you better, if you're a stablecoin fan, you better have your act together and be nice and crisp, and don't be caught in a stablecoin that's at war with the U.S., i.e. Tether. But I believe that they're dropping their bombshell sometime in September, October, which ironically enough corresponds perfectly with our sort of funny little 13, 14 bull market scenario. I do like the idea that we are basically beginning of July. We're trying to find some sort of bottom here. And like I said, we have the U.S. debt situation. The debt ceiling has to be raised. So there's that vote. And then there's Mr. Biden's massive socialist, infrastructure plan, whatever you want to call it. And all around that. And then, of course, and so that's what I think is sort of dominating trade here in the short term. And, like I said, risk could be a little dicey here for the next week or two until all that's resolved. I think we go into sort of like a kind of a malaise sort of market. Everybody's going to be like, show me. Stock market might continue working its way higher. That's this silly story. Yes, the stock market keeps working higher, but in real dollar terms, we're nowhere near old highs. We're nowhere near new highs. We're nowhere near any of the old highs. But, of course, stupid open up the newspaper and, look at that. Our stock market's at new all-time highs. No, it isn't. But anyway, that's here and there. I could see that through the summer. And then, oh boy, what I'm really worried about is, what does this fall look like? And, whether this is juxtaposed with Fed announcements, about stable coins, whether this is juxtaposed with sickness getting absolutely out of control, maybe more panic stimulus. But believe it or not, this is actually what I'm thinking happens through the final part of this year. And obviously, that's a pretty bold statement. I mean, there's no guarantees in any of this shit. But let's put it this way, this is what I would like to see happen. Who knows what the hell's going to happen? But I'm telling you, man, I got a sneaky suspicion that we're going to end the year on just a massive deflate or how do you say this? Devaluation of the US dollar, realization that the currency is worthless, maybe even a debate about what the US dollar index actually is and what makes it up, components, all those kind of things. And maybe this might even be the catalyst that we actually include things like stable coins and whatever form they're in as proxies in that US dollar index. And what does the US dollar index actually look like going forward? It might inject. I mean, the interesting thing about this is I heard Powell yesterday. I didn't hear him say anything negative about Bitcoin. Didn't hear him say anything negative whatsoever. I did hear him say we have a major problem with these stable coins and we need to address this as soon as possible. Didn't hear him say anything about Bitcoin. Might find come out legislation not allowed to own stable coins unless it's Goldman Sachs' stable coin. And everybody on Phoenix and all over China just rushes out of Tether into Bitcoin, and it creates this absolute tsunami of an uncontrollable bull run in Bitcoin. I could see that. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So get ready, folks. This is what we got ahead of us. Oh, goodness. I sure hope I live through this. And I sure hope for all your sakes you live through it too. All right, I think I'm going to leave the rant at that. Like I said, I got to go pay off my car lease and make sure I've got wheels, Liam's wheels, all bought and paid for, so nobody can bust our chops over that. And actually, it's been a very good car. And I'll have to say, for the good people of Toyota Motor Company, I think they've done an excellent job servicing Liam, and I would highly endorse anybody to go and either lease or buy one of their vehicles to service special needs kids. It did a fantastic job. Thank you, JoJo Universe Karma, for that gift. It's been greatly used and received. In fact, Liam had a great car ride up in the mountains yesterday. So that was a win-win all around. So I'll be more than happy. In fact, if Toyota feels like screwing me over, which, usually these car salesmen do, and they want to hit me for another $500, I'll just laugh and say, fine, whatever. Just take the damn money and let me be on my way. So that's what I'm looking forward to this afternoon. Have fun in the market. I don't think you're going to see a hell of a lot of trades to be done, especially on this options expiry. If we're lucky, maybe heading through the weekend, we might have some fun in various different alts. I'll tell you, the stock market is looking very, very risky. But, you might make the argument that, maybe we get some serious dumps on things like dog money. We might actually be able to justify going and buying our coins back there. Still looking for my re-entry on Litecoin. So, maybe we get a nice dump there. I might get some sort of panic dump to buy. And, of course, I'm still nibbling away on my shitcoins. Interesting to see. These little things, they're not really doing anything, but they are a lot of fun. And if you enjoy shitcoin talk, this is kind of a fun experiment that I'm running on the site. So check those out through the daily brief. I'd also say too that a couple of the, what I would say in crypto is really try and find the stories. So for instance, what the hell is that damn thing? We did our crypto show on Wednesday of the sort of top 100 names. And I got to say, I like this story because I like the use case. They're actually doing something with this. So I don't mind this kind of risk. And also, too, it's interesting. I mean, hell, this is underwater right now. But also interesting, too, is this gives you a fairly reasonable risk window to work with. If crypto hangs in here and we rock and roll, technically appropriate levels, you can produce some pretty damn powerful results. I don't know whether I'd risk. I really probably would want to risk against that low there. Maybe even the original double bottom here. But I like the idea of hunting for specific names that have stories, use cases. When I heard this on Wednesday, I was like, that's a name I could sink my teeth into. Tough to figure out what value is on these. So really the way I've been suggesting is, these kind of use cases. Like Julian had one example yesterday that was a video game that was NFTs through Ethereum. So same sort of thing. If you have more users coming in and using your product, that's obviously going to build market inertia. And as long as that story is continuing, we're building out, we're expanding, we're a new product, that kind of stuff. These things, they got legs. And if I understand correctly, these guys, they're doing like sportsmen, leagues and stuff like that. So this is the kind of thing where, if you're a fan of a soccer team, you're just going to come in and buy Pele's card. And really, you don't even care what the price is, right? You're a fan. In those kind of environments, these kind of names can do well. So I kind of like, find your story. This is like, I think, in a weird sort of way, you look at the broader crypto market, we might find that, just if you owned an index of crypto, we don't really do a hell of a lot here over the next 6 months. But you find your use case scenarios, you find your specific stories, the coin pickers markets, big green dildos in volume, nice W's at bottom ends of ranges. You should be able to make some pretty good money here. So caveat emptor, hopefully you get some value out of that. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. Not a clue. But it is the kind of environment where, if we get a half decent story here, about them adding another sport or adding another sort of team or whatever, the way they do this, then wow, this could rock and roll. So, and it's weird. I sort of go through one by one, sort of picking out like these guys. It's interesting that they're creating a SPAC, right? Again, it's a story. I think this is a story market. So. Okay, I think I'll leave the rant at that. Sure hope you got some value out of it. PMA for the win, right? Think of story names to go and make your fortunes. The rest of the market, I don't see a rip-roaring bull. So it's not like it's. If anything, I think I said in the video today, it's like a lowering tide sinks all boats. So that's the environment I'm in right now, and we won't get into that. A rising tide lifts all boats until either A, we get into the new year and we have a new whack of capital that comes into the venture capital space that needs to be injected into the market, or B, we have a big whack of new sort of government debt funded, orgy that can justify people not paying rents. And of course, they'll go dump their money into the market as an alternative. So there's your market state. Enjoy. PMA for the win. All the best. And Kevin, if you could take us on out of here, I'd appreciate it. The only thing left for Brian to say at this point is a big bye for now.